In the year 2285, a great spaceship named Starhall Academy floated between the stars. It was a flying school, not just for one planet, but for the entire galaxy. The best teachers, the smartest students, and the most advanced machines lived on that ship. Only the brightest minds from every world were allowed to enter. Most of the teachers were aliens with long titles and strange shapes. Some had many eyes, some had no legs. Some spoke in music. They all believed they were smarter than anyone else. Especially smarter than humans. Humans were still considered new. Earth had only joined the Galactic Union a few years ago. Other species still thought humans were emotional, primitive, and not ready for real science. So when the Starhall Council announced that a human had been accepted into the Academy, everyone was surprised. And when they saw who it was, they laughed at her. Name was Mira. She didn't come from a big city. She didn't have any famous degrees. She didn't even wear fancy clothes. She came from a farming colony on the edge of Earth's outer lands. Her clothes were plain, her speech was quiet, and her manners were old-fashioned. Many asked, "Is this a joke?" Even the head math teacher, Professor Nelrix, was annoyed. Nelrix came from a crystal-skinned alien race called the Varantians. His brain was 4 times larger than a human's. He had solved thousands of complex problems, and his students feared him. He believed that only true intellectuals belonged in his classroom. He looked at Mira with narrowed eyes and whispered. To another teacher, "She'll be gone in 1 week." But Mira didn't argue. She smiled politely and attended her classes. She sat in the last row and took notes with a pencil and paper, something no one had used in 2 centuries. The other students used floating digital tablets and brainwave tools, but Mira stayed simple. One day, in Nelrix's class, he was teaching about Zarath calculus, a galactic math used for building gravity machines. Most students found it difficult. Some were still struggling with the first problem. Suddenly, Nelrix looked around the room and pointed at Mira. "You there," he said, voice echoing. "Human girl, come solve this." Mira looked up slowly. Yes, you," Nelrix snapped. "You've been sitting quietly all week. Let's see if Earth knows more than farming." The classroom chuckled. A few alien students whispered, "She's going to fail." Mira walked calmly to the front. Her steps were steady, her eyes soft. She didn't seem nervous. She looked at the large screen showing the problem. Symbols floated in glowing blue. Lines. It was problem X99, a puzzle not even top Varantian minds had solved completely. Nelrix smiled cruelly. "Let's see if your simple ways can help with this." Mira stared at the problem. She didn't touch the digital pen. Instead, she took out a small notepad and a pencil. The class laughed again. She brought paper. Someone said, but Mira didn't react. She began to write slowly. Her eyes moved left to right, then up, then down. Her pencil danced like it. Had a memory of its own. 1 minute passed. 2.5. The room grew quiet. Her hand didn't stop. She filled 4 pages without scratching out a single line. Her face showed no fear, no doubt. Only focused. Professor Nelrix's smile slowly faded. She paused, looked up, then walked to the main console and entered her answer. The AI system blinked. Then glowed green. A voice echoed through the classroom. Correct solution detected. Solution quality, 99.98% optimal. Pattern efficiency, unknown. Storing new method. For analysis. Silence. No one spoke. Even Nelrix stood frozen. The girl from the farming colony had just solved a problem that many experts had studied for years. And she did it in under 7 minutes. The AI spoke again. Solution pathway does not match any known method. New algorithm discovered. Recording Mira pattern in galactic math archives. Mira turned, gave a small nod to Nelrix, and quietly walked back to her seat. The student stared at Professor Nelrix's hands trembled. He looked at the board, then at Mira. How did you learn to do that? Mira shrugged. I just saw how it should move. Move? He asked. She smiled. The numbers. They danced in the right direction. I just followed them. She opened her notebook and started a new page. Class was stunned. Who was this human woman? How could someone with no formal training see what no one else could? News of Mira's answer spread across the ship. Students from other departments tried to peek into Nelrix's class. Some thought she was lucky. Others thought she cheated, but the AI had confirmed it. No one could cheat the system. Commander Loran, the director of Star Hall Academy, was informed. He reviewed the footage twice, then sent a message to Earth's Science Council. Your candidate has done something we cannot explain. She may be more than a student. We request more information about her past. Back in her room, Mira sat alone. She looked out the window at the stars. Her hands were folded. Her eyes were calm. She wasn't proud. She wasn't excited. It was like she already knew this would happen. The stars blinked in the darkness. And Mira whispered to herself, they think I'm simple. That's okay. I just see what others don't. The next morning, whispers about Mira filled the long silver halls of Star Hall Academy. Students from many worlds gathered near the math department. They pointed at her when she passed, their voices low and full of wonder. She solved problem 10 to 99. A human? No way. I heard I named her method after her. Even the teaching machines were curious. The board updated her name in the archives. Mira, Earth species, unknown pattern type, level, undetermined. Mira didn't react. She walked calmly to her next class, holding her notepad and pencil like always. Professor Nelrix, however, was not calm. He paced in his private chamber, speaking to himself. That solution, it should have taken decades. What if it was just luck? One trick? I must prove she doesn't belong here. He pressed a button on his desk. A floating orb appeared. It was the Academy's event organizer. Schedule a live session tomorrow, open to all departments. I'll present the unsolved core equation of stellar knot theory, and I'll make her solve it in front of the entire Academy. The orb blinked. Confirmed. Auditorium 1 booked. Announcement sent. Nelrix smiled coldly. She embarrassed me once. It will not happen again. The next day, over 500 beings filled the floating auditorium. The air was filled with energy and quiet laughter. On the central stage floated a massive screen, glowing with shapes, numbers, and alien symbols. Professor Nelrix stood in the center, his long robe shining, his 4 crystal eyes glowing. He raised a hand to quiet the room. Students, teachers, AI observers, today we witness a test of skill, a challenge, a correction. He turned toward the audience. Yesterday, a student gave a surprising answer, but surprise does not prove understanding. It may be chance, it may be copied. So today we offer another chance. He pointed behind him. The screen changed. A new equation appeared. It filled the space in twisting lines, sharp, curved, and floating. It looked like a living puzzle. This, Nelrix announced, is the stellar knot equation. It describes the behavior of energy strings around neutron suns. It has no full solution. But I believe if one truly understands math, they may find a path forward. He turned to the audience. Let us invite our student of interest, Myra of Earth. The room went silent. Mira stood up from her seat in the 3rd row. She walked slowly to the stage, her pencil in one hand, notebook in the other. Her face showed no fear. She stopped next to Nelrix. He looked down at her and whispered, "Good luck." She nodded gently. Then turned to the screen. She studied the problem. The lines were complex, spinning in layers, hidden in different dimensions. Many species couldn't even see all of them at once. She stood still for 2 minutes. Her eyes followed the patterns. Then she opened her notebook. This time, she didn't write slowly. Her hand moved like wind over water. She didn't erase anything. Her pencil danced again. The audience leaned forward. A small alien in the front row whispered, "She sees something." 15 minutes passed. Professor Nelrix frowned. "Time limit is 20 minutes. Mira stopped at minute 18. She walked toward the input console. She didn't look nervous. She entered her solution using the translator. Keys. The AI paused. The lights dimmed. A low tone echoed. Then the green light appeared. Solution confirmed. Partial level, 88.6% complete. Pattern match, unknown. Predictive. Simulation accurate within 0.01%. New solving path discovered. Recording Mira pattern, stellar not for study. Gasps filled the hall. Professor Nelrix froze. This was more than anyone had ever done with that equation. A teacher from the physics wing stood up. She reached 88% on a problem with no map. "This is historic." Another AI voice echoed. "Recommend. Promotion of human student Mira to special level access. Subject qualifies for pattern-based problem classes. Unlocking restricted zones." Mira bowed her head slightly, then turned and walked back to her seat. The crowd didn't laugh now. Stood up in silence. Not for mockery, but for respect. Later that day, Mira sat in the garden hall. Trees from 20 planets grew in peace there. A young alien named Tarn approached her. He had 3 eyes, a smooth face, and soft purple skin. He sat near her. "Why? Do you hide your talent?" he asked kindly. Mira looked at the leaves falling. "I don't hide. I just don't speak unless needed." "But how do you do it?" Tarn asked. "How do you solve those problems? Most of us can't even understand the questions." She looked at him for a long moment. "It's like ... music," she said. "I see the rhythm inside the numbers. I follow the sound. When it feels wrong, I change the step. When it feels right, I keep going." Tarn tilted his head. "Music?" "Yes," Mira said. "Every problem has a song. You just have to be quiet enough to hear it." Tarn smiled. "You're not like anyone I've met." She nodded. "I know." Meanwhile, Professor Nelrix stood alone in his lab. He replayed the footage over and over. "How?" he whispered. "No Earth school teaches that. No human brain should grasp dimensional thread math." He slammed his hand on the desk. "She's hiding something. She has to be." His pride was hurt, and his anger was growing. He opened a secret file and began reading Mira's background report again. It showed nothing special. No high scores, no special training. Just a quiet life on a farm colony. But he didn't believe it. No one comes from nothing and solves what machines can't. He looked out the window at the stars. "I will find out her secret, and when I do, she will be removed." After the live math challenge, Mira became the center of attention on Star Hall Academy. Everywhere she walked, students turned their heads. Some greeted her with quiet respect, others watched her with curious eyes. Even teaching machines saved her work into their memory banks for analysis. But Mira stayed the same. She wore the same simple clothes. She still used a pencil and notepad. She didn't ask questions in class, didn't brag, and never argued. She just observed, listened, and solved. Many students began to admire her. But some, especially older alien scholars, felt nervous. They whispered in closed rooms, "A human solving the stellar knot? It's not natural. Is she being helped by someone?" But no one could find any error in her work. One day, Mira was called to the main science hall, a round chamber with floating chairs, glowing lights, and clear walls that showed the stars beyond. Inside sat 3 important beings: Commander Loren, the director of Star Hall; Dr. Fesha, a plant-based lifeform who studied learning patterns; High AI Core 7, a machine mind that remembered the last 500 years of galactic education. Mira entered quietly and stood before them. Commander Lauren gave a warm nod. "Myra, of Earth, please sit." She sat on the edge of the round seat, hands folded. Lauren continued, "You have shown a level of mathematical understanding that we have never seen from your species, or most species. You have solved problems we believed unsolvable." Mira stayed silent. Dr. Fesha leaned forward. "We would like to understand how you think. May we ask some questions?" Myra nodded. "Did you study Zareth calculus before joining the academy?" "No," Myra said. "Did someone teach you advanced dimensional math?" "No," she said again. Dr. Fesha tilted its leafy head. "Then how did you learn?" Mira took a moment before answering. "I didn't learn like others. Since I was small, I saw patterns everywhere, in shadows in rivers, in falling leaves. I thought everyone could see them. When I was older, I found out they were numbers. I never studied equations. I just followed the patterns." High AI Core 7 spoke. Next, its voice was smooth and electric. "Your solving method does not match known styles. We cannot explain your logic path. Would you allow us to observe your thinking process?" Mira gave a small smile. "You can watch, but I can't explain what I feel. It's not always logic. It's like touching shapes in the air. I follow what feels right." Commander Lauren looked thoughtful. "You may not be like other students, but you are not wrong. You're different, and sometimes different is special." The next day, Mira received a special invitation: access to the Vault of Unsolved Equations. It was a digital space where the greatest mysteries of science and math were kept, puzzles no one had solved in centuries. Only the highest-ranking minds were allowed inside. But now Mira had permission. She entered the vault with Tarn, her alien friend, beside her. The door closed behind them. Glowing cubes floated in rows. Each one held a challenge. Tarn looked around with wide eyes. "This is where the most brilliant minds got stuck." Mira pointed at one cube. "That one." It opened. Inside was a spinning image of a black hole wrapped in strange light. The problem involved energy flow inside collapsing stars, a question that could help build faster spaceships. Mira stared at it. Suddenly, her eyes lit up. She began writing quickly. Tarn watched as page after page filled with lines, shapes, and strange curves. She didn't pause. Her hand moved like wind through tall grass. Within 30 minutes, she stood up and placed her answer into the vault console. The AI voice echoed. Pattern new. Accuracy, 99.91%. Recording method under Mira Flow, unlocking. Related problems. More cubes opened. Tarn stepped back in shock. "You did it again." Mira looked calm. "The light bends in circles, but the circles are not perfect. They fold at certain places. You just have to follow the fold." News of the new solution spread fast. Back in Professor Nelrix's private office, he stared at the screen in silence. "She did it again. His claws tightened on the edge of his desk. "No human can do this. There must be something hidden." He opened Mira's record for the 10th time. Her background showed: born in Earth Colony 7 Farm District, no high education, no travel before. Starhall, no known family with scientific records. He contacted a private network and requested deep scans of her brain activity, hoping to find something unusual. But the results showed her brain was fully human, except for one detail: an unusually high connection between logic and visual memory. "Something rare, but still within human range," Nelrix growled. "That's not enough. There has to be more." He made a decision. "I'll catch her cheating. I'll trap her." The next morning, Mira was called to another open class. It was unusual. No announcement was made. Only certain students and professors were there. Mira entered and saw Professor Nelrix waiting. "This class," he said, "is about instant solving. No time for thinking, just truth. A screen appeared. He showed Mira a strange equation filled with mixed symbols, some of which weren't real math at all. Mira looked confused. Nelrix smirked. Let's see if you're really solving. Or just pretending. He tapped a timer. Myra didn't write. She stared at the board, then tilted her head. This isn't a real problem, she said softly. The room went quiet. She pointed at the symbols. This sign doesn't exist in any math. And that one breaks its own rule. This whole question was made to trick, not to teach. Nelrix turned red with anger. The AI confirmed it a moment later. Correct. Problem structure invalid. Not part of teaching database. Test failed by instructor. Gasps filled the room. Commander Lauren appeared from the side room. This was a setup? Nelrix stood silent. Lauren turned to Myra. You remain calm in every test. You see what others miss. That is true intelligence. He faced Nelrix. Your methods are not welcome here anymore. Nelrix left in silence. And Myra? She simply bowed her head and returned to her seat, as if nothing had happened. After the fake test incident, the news about Professor Nelrix's trick spread fast across Star Hall Academy. Many were shocked. A respected teacher had tried to trap a student and failed. Even worse for Nelrix, the student he tried to shame was now more respected than ever. Myra didn't speak about what happened. She went back to her classes like normal. She still sat quietly in the last row, still used her pencil and notebook, and still answered only when asked. But now, others began to see her differently. Professors from many departments sent her invitations. Some wanted her to join their research teams. Others asked her to help solve old math puzzles. A few even came to her class just to watch how she worked. Even the machines were interested. In the artificial intelligence wing, the high-core systems ran Mira's math patterns through special programs. What they discovered surprised them. Her logic path is not like standard humans, one AI said. But it is still human. Just very rare, another replied. Commander Lauren read the report himself. It showed that Mira's brain didn't follow normal steps to solve problems. She didn't go from step A to B to C. Instead, her brain jumped ahead, like it could see the answer, then worked backwards to check it. Lauren nodded slowly. She doesn't just learn math. She feels it. One afternoon, Mira was called to the research dome. It was a large glass building on the top level of the ship, with views of space in every direction. Inside, the greatest thinkers of the Academy met to discuss ideas. There, a tall, thin alien named Professor Zero greeted her. He had no mouth, but spoke through light and color. A translator box turned his light speech into words. Welcome, Mira of Earth, he said. She bowed politely. Thank you, Professor. We have a task, he continued. The Galactic AI Board gave us a lost code from a vanished alien race, the Aranari. They disappeared over 2,000 years ago, but their knowledge was powerful. He pointed at a floating screen. Strange glowing shapes moved in circles, forming a language no one had seen in centuries. This code is called the core spiral equation. No one has been able to solve it or even understand what it means. Mira stepped closer and looked at it. The shapes twisted and folded like they were alive. To most eyes, it was just noise. Confusing random symbols. But to Myra, it was something else. It's not just math, she said softly. Professor Zero blinked. What do you mean? Mira pointed. These curves repeat, like breath. And the sharp symbols, they break, then return. It's like a song with verses, a warning hidden in music. Zero's lights changed color in surprise. You see a message? She nodded. I'll need time. For the next 4 days, Mira worked in a quiet chamber by herself. She didn't use machines. She didn't ask for help. She simply wrote and watched. Tarn visited her once. He brought food and sat beside her. You look tired, he said. Mira gave a small smile. This code is deep. It hides something more than just numbers. Can I help? Tarn asked. She shook her head gently. Thank you, but this part, I must feel it myself. Finally, on the 5th day, she called for the professors. They gathered around as Mira showed her work. It's a star map, she said, but also a time formula. The Orinari were warning about a future event. A collapse. A rip in the space threads near the core sectors. She showed them her notes. They calculated when it would happen, 160 years from now. The math proves it. Professor Zero stared in disbelief. No one else saw this. Mira looked at the glowing shapes again, because no one was listening. They were trying to warn the future. The Galactic AI Board was alerted immediately. They ran full simulations and confirmed Myra's work. She had not only solved an ancient code, she had also predicted a future space collapse that could destroy entire systems. Commander Loran stood before a large gathering that evening. Every student and teacher from all departments was present. Even the outer colonies were watching the live stream. He spoke with a strong voice. Today, we honor Mira of Earth. She came to us as a quiet student. Many laughed at her, many doubted her. But she did not fight back with words. She let her work speak for her. He looked at Mira, who stood quietly beside him. She solved what others could not. She heard what others could not hear. And now she has saved future lives. The crowd stood up. It was not laughter this time, it was applause. A long rising wave of respect. Alien hands clapped, wings fluttered, fins waved. Even machines blinked in rhythm to honor her. Tarn clapped the loudest. Mira smiled just a little. She didn't like attention, but she was glad that the Orinari's warning had been heard. Later that night, back in her room, Mira sat by the window again. She looked out at the stars. Tarn came in and sat near her. You know, he said, no one calls you simple anymore. Mira looked at him. I was never simple. I was just quiet. Tarn nodded. So what will you do now? You could become the top scientist in the academy. Mira looked at her notepad. I just want to keep solving. Tarn smiled. Then the galaxy will keep watching. After Mira solved the Orinari code and warned the galaxy about the space collapse, she became a legend across Star Hall Academy. Students who once laughed now studied her notes. Professors who ignored her now asked for advice. Some even called her the Mind from Earth, a name spoken with respect. But Myra remained quiet and focused. She still walked the halls with her pencil and notebook. She still sat in gardens, watching the stars. Her friend Tarn stayed by her side, proud of her but never pushing her to change. One morning, Mira received a message. It was from the Galactic AI Board. Mira of Earth, we have unlocked a hidden vault inside the Orinari data. A second code has appeared. Its level is beyond all known systems. We ask you to try. Mira read the message twice, then closed her notebook, stood up, and walked toward the special lab where only the most trusted minds were allowed. Inside the lab, the lights were dim. A large screen hovered in the air, and beside it floated 3 observers, Commander Loran, AI Core 7, and Professor Ziril. Thank you for coming, Loran said. What you're about to see is different from anything we've faced before. The screen lit up. This time, the symbols didn't float in clean shapes. They twisted and folded like smoke. They changed when you looked at them. Some symbols appeared to move backward in time. Others glowed, then vanished. Even Professor Zero looked puzzled. We cannot even tell what type of problem this is. It's not just math, it may be a form of communication. Mira stepped closer. Her eyes scanned the code. It's alive, she said quietly. What do you mean? Asked Loran. This code reacts. It changes when I focus on certain parts. It's like a lock that shifts every time you touch it. Can you solve it? Core 7S. Mira didn't answer. She just opened her notebook and began to write. For days, Mira stayed in the lab. She barely slept. She didn't eat much. Tarn visited her often and brought food, but she would only smile and say, "Almost." There. She filled page after page. This time, her hands shook sometimes. The problem wasn't like the others. It wasn't just hard. It was deep. It asked questions through numbers. It pulled memories from her mind. It made her feel things she couldn't explain. One night, Tarn watched her from a distance. She was staring at the code in silence. He saw tears in her eyes. He walked over. "Myra?" She looked at him slowly. "It's not a warning. It's a message, left behind for someone like me." "A message from the Oranari?" "Yes, and more than that, it holds a secret about their end." Tarn sat beside her. "What did it say?" She pointed to one pattern. "This line repeats like a heartbeat, but it slows, then stops. Then it shows a wave like something crashing into them." "Something destroyed them?" "Yes, and the same wave is coming back." Tarn's eyes widened. "To us?" Mira nodded. "In the future." The Aranari tried to stop it, but failed. They left this code behind, hoping someone would understand. Someone who could think in a different way. Someone like you. 3 more days passed. Finally, Mira stood before the console. Her solution was ready. She entered it slowly. The system took longer than ever before to respond. Then the lights turned blue. Solution verified. Connection complete. Unlocking final data path. Name recorded. Mira, human pattern key holder. Suddenly, the entire lab began to hum. A hidden archive opened. Inside was a glowing sphere of light. "What is that?" Lauren asked. Core-7 responded. "That is a pure data core. The last knowledge of the Oranari race." Zyril added, "We believed it was lost forever." Mira touched the sphere gently. It didn't hurt. It felt warm, like sunlight. And then, the sphere spoke. Not in sound, but in light. Images filled the room, showing the Oranari homeworld, their technology, their people, their science. Then it showed a dark wave, like a shadow, moving across stars. Systems disappeared. Worlds vanished. The Oranari tried to fight it, but failed. At the end, the image showed a message written in symbols, the same kind Mira had solved. She translated. Aloud, "We were not enough, but you might be. Use our knowledge, protect the future." Tarn looked at her in silence. "You were meant to find this." After the discovery, the Galactic Union gathered a special council. For the first time in history, a human was placed at the center of galactic defense research. Mira was given the highest access level in science. Many experts now worked under her, some who had once called her simple, but Myra didn't act like a leader. She said only one thing: "We have 160 years. We must prepare." Back on Earth, news of Myra's success reached every colony. Children in schools learned her name. People spoke of her with pride. The farming colony where she was born built a small tower in her honor. They called it the Quiet Genius Tower. It had no decorations, only a simple statue of Mira, holding her pencil and notebook. Below it was written, "She listened when no one else did, and she heard what the stars were saying." Meanwhile, Mira continued her work. She didn't take fame. She didn't ask for power. She kept solving, writing, and watching the skies. Tarn once asked her, "Why do you never rest?" She answered, "Because something is coming. And this time, we must be ready." Mira's name was now known across the galaxy. Her solution to the Oranari code had not only saved forgotten knowledge, but also warned of a great danger that was still far away. She was no longer just a student. She had become a leader of thought, a symbol of quiet genius from Earth. But not everyone was happy. In the lower chambers of Star Hall Academy, a group of senior minds gathered in secret. At the center of them was a familiar figure, Professor Nelrix. He had been removed from teaching months ago after trying to trick Mira. Since then, his heart had filled with jealousy. "She continues to rise," he said, voice low and cold. "They call her the mind of the future. But she is still a human, still simple in nature." The others were silent. One asked, "But she solved what no one else could." Nelrix's eyes narrowed. "That doesn't mean we must accept her as our leader. I have watched her methods. I have copies of her notes. If I study them deeply, I can understand her thinking, and then I can become greater than her." The others looked at each other nervously. They knew Nelrix was smart, but his pride had become dangerous. Still, one of them gave him access to an old data stream, Myra's research files, secretly copied from her system. Nelrix smiled. "Soon, they will forget her name." In the following weeks, strange things began to happen. A new paper was published in the Galactic Science Journal. It included a solution to an unsolved energy flow theory, a problem that Mira had been quietly working on, but the paper didn't carry Mira's name. It said, "Solved by Professor Nelrix." When Mira saw it, she was silent. Tarn, however, was furious. "He stole it. This is your solution. I saw you write it with my own eyes." Mira only said, "Let the truth speak on its own." Commander Lauren was not so quiet. He called a full review. A group of AI systems compared Mira's saved research with Nelrix's published paper. The results shocked everyone. 99.7% of Nelrix's paper matched Mira's original notes. Even the small mistakes Mira had crossed out were copied exactly. The council called Nelrix in for questioning. He stood tall and proud. "Yes, I used her notes. But does it matter who solves the problem if it helps the galaxy?" Professor Ziril replied calmly, "It matters. You claimed her work as your own." Nelrix laughed. "She doesn't even care." She said nothing. "Why should anyone?" Mira finally spoke. She had been quiet the whole time, but now she stepped forward. "I don't speak to gain praise," she said. "I speak when truth is needed. And today, I speak not for myself, but for honesty. The work was mine. The method was mine. You copied without understanding." The AI Council confirmed that Nelrix was banned from all research projects. His access was removed. He walked out in silence, defeated again by the woman he once called simple. After that, Mira was offered a new role, the first pattern mathematician of the Galactic Union. It was a title that had not been used for over 400 years. The last person to hold it was an alien thinker who had shaped early space travel. Tarn smiled when he heard the news. "You're now one of the highest minds in the galaxy." Mira simply nodded. "Titles are heavy. I will carry it carefully." Now with her new position, Mira began a bigger project, something that could protect the galaxy from the dark waves shown in the Orinari message. She gathered the best minds from many species. She shared her methods with them, and together, they worked on building something called the Thread Shield, a system to protect star systems from space-time collapse. Mira designed the core pattern. It was based on her own way of thinking. Not numbers first, but feeling the flow of reality. Design looked strange to others. It didn't follow regular logic. But when tested, it worked perfectly. The first shield was placed near a small star system in Sector 9. When tested under extreme conditions, it held strong. The Galactic AI Board declared it the most stable energy field in recorded history. Mira's team began building more. While her fame continued to grow, Mira still lived simply. She slept in a small room near the garden dome. She still used her pencil and notebook. She still walked quietly, speaking only when needed. Tarn once asked her, "Why don't you move to the upper tower now? You've earned it." Mira looked at the stars and said, "I don't need high walls to think clearly. I need quiet." He laughed. You're the only galactic leader who still waters her own plants. She smiled. They listen. Like the numbers do. One night, Mira received a message from a young student, a girl from another Earth colony. It said, "Dear Mira, I'm not smart like others. I don't speak much. But I see shapes in water and light, and I think they are numbers. Everyone tells me I'm strange. But I read your story. Now I believe maybe I'm not broken. Maybe I'm just different. Thank you for being like me." Mira held the message for a long time. She wrote back, "You are not broken. You are rare. Follow what you see. One day, the galaxy may need your patterns too." Years passed since Mira first stepped onto the Star Hall Academy. The quiet woman from a farming colony had become one of the greatest minds the galaxy had ever known. Yet she remained humble, focused on the future. The Thread Shield project grew larger each day. Star systems once at risk were now protected by shimmering fields of energy, invisible to the eye, but strong enough to hold the fabric of space together. Many species worked together, inspired by Mira's calm leadership. Still, the dark wave from the Aranari warning was far away, about 160 years as predicted. But Mira never forgot it. She often sat under the stars, thinking deeply, her pencil moving softly on paper. One evening, Tarn found her in the garden hall. The plants glowed faintly in the low light. Mira was sketching a new pattern, one that looked like a web of stars connected by lines of light. Tarn asked, "What is that?" Mira looked up. A map. A map of how the shield can grow beyond the galaxy to protect other systems, even other universes. Tarn smiled. "You never stop thinking." "I must keep going," she said. "The future depends on those who prepare now." While the galaxy praised her, Mira's thoughts often returned to Earth. She missed the quiet nights on the farm, the sound of wind in the fields, and the simple joy of watching stars. One day, she received a message from her home colony. "Mira, your family and friends are proud of you. The Quiet Genius Tower has been finished. They say it shines like a star in the night." Mira smiled softly. "I hope it reminds them to listen, to be patient." Not everyone accepted Mira's way. Some older teachers and leaders believed her methods were too different, too strange. Council meeting was called to discuss whether to continue funding the Thread Shield project. Several voices argued, "This human's ideas are unpredictable. We should focus on known technologies. Her pattern thinking is unproven on a large scale." But Commander Lauren stood up. "Look at the results. This project has saved lives. It has united species, and it has opened new doors for science." He turned to Mira. "We trust your vision." The council agreed, and funding was increased. Mira nodded quietly, feeling the weight of responsibility. Meanwhile, an unexpected event surprised everyone. The Galactic AI Board sent a message. An unknown energy signature has appeared beyond the known space. It matches the dark wave predicted by the Aranari code. Estimated arrival, 150 years. The galaxy held its breath. Mira's calm did not change. "This is sooner than expected," she said. "We must prepare faster." Mira began working with the best scientists, engineers, and explorers. She taught them to think in patterns, not just formulas. To feel the flow of space, not only measure it. Together, they designed new ships that could detect subtle changes in space-time. They created sensors that could follow the wave's movement. And they built stronger versions of the Thread Shield. Young students who once doubted, Mira now dreamed of joining her team. The galaxy's future depended on these preparations. One evening, Tarn asked Mira, "Do you ever feel afraid?" She looked at the stars and thought. "No," she said after a moment. "Why not?" "Because I trust the patterns. They tell me we can survive. But only if we keep learning, keep watching, and keep working together." Time passed. Decades came and went. Mira became a legend, not because of her power or fame, But because she showed that quiet minds could change the universe, her story was told in schools, in songs, and in stories around campfires on many planets. The simple woman with a pencil and notebook had unlocked secrets that no one else could, and she had done it by listening to the music inside numbers and trusting what others could not see. As the stars continued to shine, Mira knew one thing for sure. The future was not fixed. It was a pattern, waiting for those who dared to find it, and she would keep searching quietly, patiently, with pencil in hand.